about one species, namely human beings, and that's natural. But we shouldn't forget that there are 7.7 million animal species and another million protozoa, fungi, plant species. So there are a number of others, and we could go on for months actually recording, because there are so many interesting results by other colleagues regarding other types of organisms. So there is so much to be done. And
what I've seen is there's a lot of research currently on exactly that, the impact on animal life and plant life, more so than on humans. Later, I see a stronger focus on the animal side.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't mind that as long as there is an equal focus on normal, healthy human people, as well as on people with electrohypersensitivity. And as you say, it's not. Right now, there is very little going on. I mentioned this fantastic project in Australia and Singapore, and there are a few others, similar projects, but not very much at all. And that actually stresses me a lot, because I see that we could learn so much. And with all due respect for plants and fungi and animals and so on, we, the humans, have something very unique, namely what we call a verbal descriptor, meaning I could ask you, how do you feel? And you can give a detailed answer, which will help me to understand which type of cells, which type of nerve fibers and so on have reacted. One thing I didn't mention before is that when we looked with a fantastic nerve fiber marker called protein gene product 9.5, we could see that the electrohypersensitive facial skin are more or less completely devoid of any nerve fibers. And in neuroscience, where I come from originally, it's like you have workers in a garden, and then you make 99% off. Then, of course, the remaining percent has to work very hard to keep the garden in shape. It's the same here, and that's called supersensitivity, meaning that the remaining few short nerve fibers will have to react much more. And that could be the reason why you are an excellent canary bird in the coal mine, a biological warning signal, whereas I am not. I will not react in the same way, or at least I will not be aware of that something fishy is going on. And of course, with the increasing colossal exposures, to be honest, I'm kind of waiting for a tipping point that suddenly something really bad is going to emerge, and where it could be way too late to react. So,
yeah, especially to turn back. And I'm just thinking about the work of Dr. Magda Havas, where she calls it early aging symptoms.
Yeah,
what you're describing for me, and I mean, I've seen it in my own face when I'm very exposed. I look 10 years older in one day.
Yeah.
And if I remove the exposure in 2 days, I can go back to normal.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And you know, I think it's so interesting, her hypotheses. So I even sent it out via my mailing list, because I think people should ponder this, and also by plain observation come back and tell us, is it going on? Is it happening? And not only electrohypersensitive people, but also normal healthy volunteers. What's happening with them, you know? And I cannot help, and I know colleagues will sort of point the finger at me and say, no, that's not true. But I cannot help the impacts on bacteria, the immune system, and on viruses. What is the connection between electromagnetic field exposure and, for instance, the late pandemic? Is there a connection? And if so, how does it look? And why are we not allowed to investigate it? If something is safe, Davida, then it should be safe to investigate it, because in science and in science theory, it's said that all the roads lead to Rome, meaning that the knowledge, the facts on the table will be found by everyone at the end of the day. So it would be safe to allow a crazy Swede like me to investigate this. But people say, no, stop, you cannot investigate this. Why not? Well, we cannot tell you.
In June this year, our government was posed a question about, what is their stance on EMF and the health effects? And I'll send you the response. They simply responded by saying, even if you climb up a cell phone tower mast and you're right in front of it within a meter, you're still beneath the ECNIRP guidelines.
Yeah.
So they, first of all, their first mistake is they accept the ECNIRP guidelines as possible. But there's absolutely no intent. They just look at the World Health Organization, what they put out, and nobody questions that. And that, for me, is a big issue.
Well, it's more than big, I would say. And, it's odd that your government and authorities don't realize that the ECNIRP guidelines, they are only technical in nature, and so they have said themselves. And also, they are a model guideline, depending on that the test subject being a plastic mannequin filled with fluid. It's living in a completely radiation-free environment. Where do you find that in reality? And it's exposed for 6, 10, or 30 minutes to one single call and never again in their lifetime. And they only look at the acute thermal heating effect. So it's so artificial. So it's not even artificial. It's just a bloody joke from a human point of view or animal point of view. But for technical reasons, you can definitely use it to compare, for instance, different antennas or whatever you're interested in. And Paolo Vecchia, who was the head of ECNIRP at the time, and I think it's 2008, he pointed to and said they were never meant to be used as a medical safety guideline, only technical in nature, and they could not be a protective wall for the industry to hide behind. And it's not the last word that is to be said in this area. So they have really said the word, this is not what you should use. And still, Davida, we don't have a human, biologically based exposure standard. It doesn't exist. But you have to inform your authorities and government and parliament. And as I said before, in my dreams, I see myself traveling to you, and you take me by the hand or arm, and we move together to your government or health authorities and give them a lecture.